بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد إخوة الإيمان والإسلام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, today by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be reflecting upon some verses from the gracious book of Allah, Al-Quran Al-Kareem. A story which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, which we read perhaps at least once a week. Ikhwat al-Iman wal-Islam, this story Allah narrated to us in Surah Al-Kahf after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the incident behind it was after the Prophet was asked by the pagans of Mecca about three major things. Of course, they were sent by some Jews from the Medina. The pagans complained to the Jewish people in Medina that how do we deal with this man who is claiming prophethood in Mecca? The Jewish community asked them to ask the Prophet Muhammad and see if he's truly prophet or not about three things. Number one, about the youth and their story of the cave. And number two, about a king who used to wander the earth from the east to the west, spreading the deen of Allah. And thirdly, about Ar-Ruh, spirit. The pagans came to the Prophet Muhammad and asked him these questions. Allah revealed Surah Al-Kahf. In Surah Al-Kahf, as we know, is named after the story of the youth who were in the cave for many years with their dog. And as well as the story of Dhul-Qarnain, which is at the end of Surah Al-Kahf. As for Ar-Ruh, Allah mentioned the answer for that in Surah Al-Isra, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, let us begin by أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويسألونك عن ذي-القرنين. O Prophet Muhammad, the pagans are asking me about Dhul-Qarnain. قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا. Tell them, I will narrate to you his story. So who is Dhul-Qarnain, Ikhwat al-Iman wal-Islam? The scholars of Islam, they say that Dhul-Qarnain is a righteous king from amongst the Muslims who existed thousands of years ago. Some say right after Musa alayhi salam, and some say before Musa alayhi salam. But it does not matter where or when. Allah narrates to us this story in the Quran for one purpose, ibrah, as lessons. We take knowledge from, experience from, So Dhul-Qarnain was a righteous Muslim king. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went on to tell us about Dhul-Qarnain. After the Prophet told the Meccans, I will narrate to you. And then he went on to say, إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. We empowered him on earth. Now Allah is telling the story. We empowered Dhul-Qarnain on earth. And we gave him all means so that he would carry his tasks that Allah had set for him. Allah empowered him with an army, with faith, with spirit, with wealth, with every means that he needs in order to spread the deen of Allah from the east to the west of this earth. فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Allah went on to say, so he followed his course, i.e. he obeyed Allah and he took what Allah empowered him with righteously, correctly, and he went on to serve the deen of Allah. And then Allah went on to say, حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمية. He traveled very far to the very far west, where the sun sets, to the final point where the sun sets. When he arrived there, he found water spring, with lots of mud that is so dark in color. Ayn Hamia, that's the tafsir of the ulama. He reached that place and he found a community of people. He found a community of people. ووجد عندها قوما, as Allah says. قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا. We said to Dhul-Qarnain, or Dhul-Qarnain, you have two choices. One, to punish these people, or to treat them fairly and nicely. Obviously, these people were rebellious, disbelievers, wrongdoers. They used to do haram and spreading mischief on earth. Faithless people. So Allah gave the judgment to Dhul-Qarnain to decide what to do with these people who he found in the very far west where the sun sets. Alhamdulillah, when did Dhul-Qarnain alayhi salam reply? By the way, how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala communicate with Dhul-Qarnain? The ulama, they say by al-ilham, inspiring him. And some they say by a ru'ya, vision. He has special dreams and he knows in this dream that it is an order from Allah to fulfill. And some that they said that Allah sent angels and he had their voices ordering him. But the first one is the most famous amongst the scholars, ilham, by inspiration. And the second one is the second strongest by vision, الرؤية في المنام. ولله الحمد. إخوة الإيمان والإسلام, Dhul-Qarnain had to find a solution for these people because his main cause, his main reason is to spread the deen of Allah and justice on earth. What did he say? قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا. Ask for the one who chooses to rebel, who chooses to be misguided, who chooses to reject the invitation of Islam Dhul-Qarnain carries in his army. For that person will receive a punishment. He will punish him, and then when he's sent back to his Lord, i.e. after resurrection, on the day of judgment, he will find a major punishment waiting for him from his Lord. The meaning of the verses. So he will get punished in this dunya, and the worst punishment is awaiting for him on the day of judgment. These are those who willingly reject the truth after knowing it. They disbelieve while they know it is the truth, while they have received the message of Allah clearly without any doubt in it, like these people here. And then he went on to say, that's Dhul-Qarnain. Allah told us that Dhul-Qarnain went on to say, وَأَمَّا مَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُ جَزَاءً الْحُسْنَى وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. As for the one who believes, he accepts the invitation of Islam. He believes in Allah as one. He believes in the messengers of Allah and in the pillars of Iman. وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. And he follows his faith with righteous good deeds, following the sunnah of the prophets. عليهم السلام. فَلَهُ جَزَاءً الْحُسْنَى. He will have al-husna, i.e. in the hereafter, he will have al-husna, and that is Jannah of Allah. And the goodness that Allah will give you in the hereafter. And we will speak to him politely and treat him fairly. In this dunya, we will talk to him politely and treat them as brothers and sisters, fairly, kindly, and in the hereafter, Allah will bless for them his guidance. That's how wise Dhul-Qarnain was alayhi salam. So Allah gave him to judge this matter, and he was successful in judging correctly. And that's the sunnah of the Anbiya alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went on to say, ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. And then he moved on and he carried on his task that Allah set for him. Allah assigned for him. Now, after he was done with the people who he found where the sun sets in very far west, now he had to continue his journey. Some of them embraced Islam, some of them rejected, he fought them, he defeated them, and then he carried on his journey after he taught the people about Islam and so on and so forth. This is all in the tafsir of the ulama. Now there is another journey. He does not stop there. Now he's heading towards the far east. ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل له من دونها سترا. Until he reached the very far east, where the sun rises, where the sun starts rising. And he found in there a community of people who did not have any shelter, did not have any ceilings, any roofs to help them from the heat of the sun, or the rain, or the snow, or anything that comes down from the sky. The ulama, they say this community of people who Dhul-Qarnain and his army found in the far east of this earth, they used to live under the ground, basically. They had flat lands, no trees, no tall buildings, nothing like that. They used to dig houses under the ground and live under the ground. That's why Allah says, we did not offer them sitra. They did not have a shelter that hides them from the sun or anything that comes from the sky. كَذَلِكَ وَقَدْ أَحَطْنَا بِمَا لَدَيْهِ خُبَرًا. And indeed, as Dhul-Qarnain and his army are on their duty serving Islam and Allah, and dealing with these thousands of people that he finds in the east and the west, Allah is all aware of every step Dhul-Qarnain takes. He wouldn't do anything except Allah knows about it. He is the controller of all, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This to show you that kingdom and glory belongs to Allah alone. In the middle of the story, Allah told us this. Do not be deceived by great kings, by great emperors, because they all die. And the only one who doesn't die is Malik al-Muluk, the king of all kings, and that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. Now, Dhul-Qarnain carried on the task that Allah appointed for him in the east. The same thing, inviting people to Islam. Whoever embraces Islam thoroughly, then they will be granted the Islamic brotherhood, and they will be given glad tidings of the hereafter. Whoever rejects Islam and opposes Islam, then they will face the Muslim army in this dunya and Allah in the hereafter. And Allah in the hereafter, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of them accepted Islam in the east and some did not. The nature of man. Alhamdulillah. ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Allah went on to say, and then he moved on with his task to a different land, to a different place. Some scholars say, still somewhere in the east of this earth. ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ بَيْنَ السَّدَّيْنِ وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. Until he reached a place where there was huge two mountains. The ulama, they say very big two cliffs or mountains. Okay? ووجد من دونهما قوما. And there were people in there. There was a community of people between the two huge mountains. لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. Those people could hardly communicate with the outsiders. I.e., when Dhul-Qarnain tried to communicate with them, to invite them to Islam, to speak to them, get to know them, he could not understand them, and they could not understand him, not because of him, because of them could not understand him, their shortcomings. لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. The ulama, they say, they hardly make you understand them, and they hardly understand you. However, in the Tafsir, Dhul-Qarnain alayhi salam found someone to translate it for him with that walillahi alhamd. He spoke to them. Let us let the Quran speak, inshallah ta'ala. قالوا يا ذا القرنين. So this community of people who lived between the two mighty mountains, قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا. They said, "Oh, Dhul-Qarnain," because they heard about him, they know his name, a mighty king, a righteous king who spreads justice on earth and righteousness. They were hoping for someone to come and help them with the problem they had, and we'll find out about it. They said, "Oh, Dhul-Qarnain, indeed, Ya'juj and Ma'juj are mufsidun on earth, mischief makers, corrupt people who spread corruption on earth. Can you help us against them, and we will pay you a tribute, we will pay a tax to you to help us against Ya'juj and Ma'juj, stop their oppression, corruption, mischief making on earth." They knew he was a mighty king with a mighty army, with a just cause. So they offered him money to support them against Ya'juj and Ma'juj. What did Dhul-Qarnain alayhi salam reply to these people? قال ما مكنني فيه ربي خير فأعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما. He says, whatever Allah has given me, whatever my Lord has given me, is much better than that which you are offering me. I am not in need for your money or your tax so that I can help you. No, I help the needy and the poor, and I defeat the arrogant and the proud. That's the mission of a just ruler. He says, قال لا مكنني فيه ربي خير. Whatever Allah has given me is much better, so I'm not asking you for anything. The only thing I will ask you, فأعينوني بقوة. All I need is your strength, your labor, your physicality, build this, to build, to do something. فأعينوني بقوة, so that I can build this barrier that you asked for. Because they're asking to build Sidda, a barrier that blocks that empty gap between the two mighty mountains where they lived. So Dhul-Qarnain accepted to help them. And how come not? Allah ordered him to help the poor and the needy, no matter what they are, and invite them to Islam. Ikhwat al-Iman al-Islam. Let's pause quickly here about and talk about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Ya'juj and Ma'juj. We know from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad there are two tribes, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And they're from the offsprings of Adam alayhi salam. They are from the offsprings of Adam, like you and me. Except that they were very uncivilized people, if you want to call them savage. Uncivilized, uneducated, rebellious, disbelievers, oppressors, corrupt community of people. And we had a complaint of those people against them. Mufsiduna fil ard. They walk on earth spreading corruption and oppression. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam mentioned Ya'juj and Ma'juj in many ahadith. And today our talk is not about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, but since they are a major part of his story, then it's worth mentioning them briefly. Allah also mentioned Ya'juj and Ma'juj in another surah, Surah Al-Anbiya, the end of Surah Al-Anbiya. حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون واقترب الوعد الحق. i.e., Ya'juj and Ma'juj at the end of time, when the major signs of the Day of Judgment start occurring, Ya'juj and Ma'juj will come up from wherever they were locked in, and they will spread their corruption again and their oppression again on earth, and that will be a major sign for the Day of Judgment. And that's at the time of Isa alayhi salam, when he comes, when he descends down by the permission of Allah. Ikhwat al-Iman wal-Islam. On the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it is reported to us in Sahih, يقول يا آدم ابعث بعث النار. O Adam, send the people that you have to send to the hellfire. فيقول آدم عليه السلام وما بعث النار يا رب? Who am I supposed to send to the hellfire? He doesn't know. The only one who knows the seen and the unseen is Allah. And then Allah went on to say in this hadith, the Prophet says that Allah will say to Adam, من كل ألف, from each group of 1,000 people, 999 to the fire and 1 to Jannah. The Sahaba were surprised. And how come not? 999 will go to the fire and only one person will go to Jannah on the Day of Judgment. At that time, the Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba that, do not worry, most of them are from Ya'juj and Ma'juj. These are from Ya'juj and Ma'juj because they are in great, great, great numbers. Let us go back to the story which Allah narrated to us in Surah Al-Kahf, and then we will continue about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So Dhul-Qarnain accepted to help them and build a barrier between them and Ya'juj and Ma'juj and lock them in so they can't come out and spread their corruption again. آتوني زبر الحديد. Allah says that Dhul-Qarnain said to them, bring me big pieces of iron. حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا. What did Dhul-Qarnain do, according to the tafsir of this ayah? Between the two huge mountains, the gut which Ya'juj and Ma'juj used to come out from and spread mischief, and then they go back to their town or wherever they live, Dhul-Qarnain filled it up with big pieces of iron, and this took time. He filled it up حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا. He filled it up completely, so there was no gut. And then what did he do? قال انفخوا. حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطعا. Then he burned the iron. He burned it with fire. He heated it with fire, and then he asked for molten copper. He poured it on the iron, and it became like it stuck to each other. It became like a solid defensive wall. Very solid. And it filled the entire gap between the mountains. In this way, Ya'juj and Ma'juj could no longer come out from where they lived in order to spread the mischief on earth. فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. And Allah says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, after this barrier was built and they were locked in, of course Ya'juj and Ma'juj tried to knock it down. They tried to climb it, and they tried to knock it down or make it collapse. However, they failed. They failed everywhere they tried. However, going back to the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad, one of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad narrated to us in the Sahih Hadith, he says that the Prophet Muhammad was sleeping, and then he woke up and he was saying, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبِ مِنْ شَرٍّ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ فُتِحَ مِنْ رَدْمِ يَأْجُوجَ وَمَأْجُوجَ. And then he pointed with his fingers. He woke up from his sleep saying this, woe to the Arabs, woe to the Arabs, because most Muslims at that time on earth were the Arabs in Mecca and Medina. Woe to the Arabs, and this includes the entire Muslim Islam. Woe to the Muslims. He was saying, La ilaha illallah. From the wall of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, a small hole was digged today. Another hadith in Sunan Majah, Sunan Tirmidhi, that Ya'juj and Ma'juj, from the moment Dhul-Qarnain locked them in that place, every morning, from the sunrise all the way to the sunset, groups after groups trying to knock down this wall. But they fail. In one narration, when the day of judgment comes close, Isa alayhi salam descends down by the leave of Allah. At that time, Allah will allow them to knock it down. At that time, one of them, at the end of their shift, in the evening just before the sunset, he will come back tomorrow, inshallah, we will be able to knock it down. Because at that time, according to the hadith, he said, inshallah, the next day they came, they were able to knock it down, and they started coming out. حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون يسرعون للفساد. Allah explained this in this verse. Until when the day of judgment is close, and Ya'juj and Ma'juj will come out, will be released, set free, and they will be running very fast from every height. They climb everything. إخوة الإيمان والإسلام. We know and we believe, according to the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, according to the interpretations of these verses, that Ya'juj and Ma'juj are locked up somewhere where Allah wants them to be on this very earth which we are on. However, where exactly it is, nobody knows except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are people like us. Maybe they're not civilized like us, they're not educated like us. But the scholars say all they do, eat, drink, and procreate. They marry, they have children. They have their farms, they have their water, and they procreate. They're in great numbers. That's why the hadith we mentioned earlier, when Allah spoke to Adam, told him, send what you have to send to the hellfire. 90, the people who will go to the fire, each group of 1,000 will be 999. Will go to the fire, and that's when you're doing it. This tells you how great they are in numbers. إخوة الإيمان والإسلام. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to say, telling us about what Dhul-Qarnain said to those people after he finished building this wall. He says, قَالَ هَذَا رَحْمَةٌ مِنْ رَبِّي. This, what you see, what I built for you, is a mercy from Allah. Is what Allah wanted to take place. It is He who empowered me. It is He who inspires me. It is He who orders me. Without Him, I am nothing. So worship Him alone. And associate no partners with Him. And seek His mercy and seek His forgiveness. He gave them da'wah, of course. That's His main reason, to wander the earth. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ. However, when the promised time of my Lord comes, this defensive wall that I built for you will collapse. Allah will cause it to what? Crumble. And it will be pounded on the ground. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. And indeed, the promise of Allah will certainly come true. The day of judgment will come. And before the day of judgment, we know that Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be set free. And before they are set free, they need to knock it down by the permission of Allah. Once it is knocked down, as we mentioned in the ayah, they will be running from every corner, spreading corruption, killing everyone on their way. There is many hadith about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. It's Muslim, Bukhari, Tirmidhi, very famous hadith, that they find no lake on their way, except they drink it. No farm except they consume everything on that farm. No one stands on their way except they destroy them. مفسدون في الأرض. That's all they do. Until they reach Palestine, Bayt al-Maqdis, the Holy Land. And then they think they have killed everyone, according to one hadith. They think they have killed everyone. Whereas Isa alayhi salam and the believers will be somewhere in the mountains of Sinai, the mountain of Atur, according to this narration. Allah will tell them, go there and wait for my permission to come down of these mountains. I wait until Ya'juj and Ma'juj are destroyed, and then you can come down, Isa, with the believers. This is the very end of time. And all of these are authentic ahadith, Bukhari and Muslim. So Isa alayhi salam will be supplicating to Allah as well as the Muslims long, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And how? According to this hadith, that after Ya'juj and Ma'juj think they killed everyone on earth, and they possess earth and its belongings, they conquer the entire earth, that's according to their thoughts. Remember, they're very uncivilized, uneducated, very savage people. What do? Foolishly, they say, we destroy the people on earth, now let's destroy the people of the sky. And in this narration, they point their arrows and their spears to the sky, and foolishly they shoot them up to the sky. And then what does Allah do, subhanahu wa ta'ala? He will send back these spears and arrows on them with the traces of blood. And they come down. Foolishly, they think they have killed the inhabitants of the heavens, of the skies. These are the hadith, not my sayings. Foolishly, they think that. And what do? They will celebrate that evening and that night for their so-called victory and dominance on earth and on the sky. As they are celebrating, they drink, they eat, they dance. Nighttime, when they sleep, it is said in this narration, that Allah, authentic narration, hadith, Allah will send some kind of worms or insects. In some narrations, it enters from their necks or from their ears and it comes out from their noses. Once that happens, they die straight away. In the morning, no one wakes up alive. They're all dead within one night. Remember, they were in great numbers. They all died in one night. And then Isa and the believers will find out that Ya'juj and Ma'juj were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so calm down peacefully and go back to the Holy Land and continue your duties and your tasks. And then obviously when Isa and the believers will come down, they will find out the flesh of Ya'juj and Ma'juj and their dead bodies smelling really unpleasant. And then Isa alayhi salam will pray to Allah, make dua, and the believers will follow him with dua to help them clean the earth from the dead bodies of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. In some narrations, Allah will send special birds, picking them up and throwing them somewhere else. In one narration, in the ocean somewhere, and Allah knows best. And then the traces of their blood and the death they left behind, Isa will supplicate to Allah again. And Allah will send down a very heavy rain, perhaps like never before. It will clean the earth to the point where it becomes so shiny and spotless. And not just that, and it will give its barakah and blessings. At that very time, what you have again and again is the hadith, one banana, one apple, one cow, milking one cow will be enough for an entire group of people. One banana, one apple can be shared by 10 people. This is the very end of time. And these are authentic ahadith. Go back to Bukhari, Sunnah Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, as well as Bukhari and Muslim, in many different hadith. That's how Allah destroys Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and that's how Allah saves Isa and the believers. This is after Isa alayhi salam was victorious against the Masih al-Dajjal, the Antichrist, in the Holy Land. At that time when Muslims were victorious, they defeated Masih al-Dajjal and his followers. At that time Allah in Sahih Muslim, this hadith, Allah will reveal to Isa, now I am going to set free certain servants of mine which you have no power to fight against. And that's it. Take my servants and go to Al-Tur and remain there until you're told to come down. And Isa did what Allah ordered him to do. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, Allah destroyed Ya'juj and Ma'juj and gave victory to the believers with that. At that time, Islam will prevail everywhere on earth. Then Isa alayhi salam, he will die like every human being, as Allah says, كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Everyone must taste death. And that's the first death and the last death for Isa alayhi salam. Because death is only once. You only die in this dunya. That's it. Because Isa alayhi salam, you know, he has not died yet. بل رفعه الله إليه. As Allah says in the said, however, Allah ascended him and lifted him to an appointed time, so that he will witness against the Jews and the Christians who claim to follow him and who worship him. He will come and deny that and spread the true message of Allah, and that's the Islam of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Going back to Dhul-Qarnain alayhi salam, as we mentioned for the Iman of Islam, this story is at the very end of the second last page of Surah Al-Kahf, walillahi alhamd. As we mentioned, he was a righteous king. Some scholars thought he was a Nabi from the Anbiya of Allah, but it's just a minor opinion. However, according to the major opinion, he's a wali from the Awliya of Allah, who Allah chose to carry his tasks. He gave him all the powers and the means in order to wander the earth, the east and the west, spreading the kalima of La ilaha illallah, and the deen of Islam, walillahi alhamd. And he did that successfully. Some of them claimed that he was Alexander the Great, but that's fake because he was a pagan, as we know. Some of them they claimed that he was the father of the Yemenis at the time after Thamud or something like that. But these are just opinions. However, we do not know exactly where he was from or when he lived, i.e. the century or the time. Some scholars say, as mentioned earlier, after Musa alayhi salam, some say before him. Allahu ta'ala a'lam. The main moral of the story is not when or where or who, is what we take from this story. Is the deen of Allah. And there is one thing that is very beautiful, the scholars mentioned in the tafsir about this. Remember in Surah Al-Kahf, at the end of Surah Al-Kahf, Allah mentioned two stories. The story of Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. Remember the journey of Musa with Yusha ibn Nun, his servant, and then they met with Khidr and Musa wanted to learn from him which he didn't know. We know the story. And then after that, at the very end of the story of Musa and Khidr, Allah mentioned the story of Dhul-Qarnain. The scholars, they say, Allah started with the story of Musa and Khidr because it's based on knowledge. Because Musa only followed Al-Khidr, because Musa is greater than Khidr in terms of who is a greater prophet than the other. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَ النَّبِيِّينَ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah preferred certain prophets over others. Like Muhammad is the best prophet, just like Musa alayhi salam and Nuh and Isa and Ibrahim are the best prophets. And Muhammad is the leader, ulul azmi min ar-rusul. So Allah favors some prophets over others, some places over others. وَكُلٌّ لَهُ مُسْلِمُونَ, as Allah says. And they're all submissive to Him and obedient to Him. وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. All Allah promised the same Jannah and the same reward. إخوة الإيمان والإسلام. So Musa alayhi salam followed Al-Khidr because of a specific knowledge that Allah gave to Al-Khidr at that time. So Musa followed him to gain that knowledge. And what happened in the story, as we know, was a test from Allah to Musa alayhi salam. Right after that, Allah mentioned a story that is based on what? Mainly jihad, carrying the flag of La ilaha illallah and spreading the word of Allah. As if Allah is telling us, according to Mufassirin, that jihad cannot be done except with perfect knowledge of Islam. Because if jihad is carried out without correct Islamic knowledge, you will be spreading on earth what? Oppression, killing the innocent, blaming the innocent, destroying houses, spilling blood. And that's what we see, unfortunately, sometimes people who claim jihad while they have knowledge of Islam and they end up doing the wrong things. Therefore, it is very important. Knowledge comes first. And they say, لأن العلم أساس الجهاد. And they commented in their tafsir, because ilm is the foundation for jihad. You can never go out for jihad without being a knowledgeable person and knowing your task, whether it's right or wrong, politically and Islamically. Not just Islamic perspective. You need to know the Islamic perspective and the political perspective. Though Islam is politics and politics is Islam, but at certain times you have to differentiate when the fitna comes in between, so that you don't do what the confused did, but you do exactly what the Sahaba did, alayhi wa sallam wa So that's something to benefit from. So knowledge came first before jihad. So this is the story of Dhul-Qarnain alayhi salam. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ لِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. To Allah belongs the kingdoms of the heavens and earth. And He gives His kingdom to whom He wishes, and He takes it from whom He wishes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives it to whom He wishes, and He takes it away from whom He wishes. Some kings and authorities are given authority and power as a gift and blessings from Allah, because they are righteous, like Dhul-Qarnain, like the Anbiya, and many more. And some are given authority as a test from Allah, to see if they do right or they do wrong. And that's their questions to answer before Allah on the day of judgment. إخوة الإيمان والإسلام, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on Dhul-Qarnain and his army who marched the earth spreading the word of Allah and the sunnah of his Anbiya alayhi salam wa ajma'in. And one more time, these stories are not told in the Quran for no reason. لقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب ما كان حديثا يفترى. It's not a fabricated or nonsense speech or story being taught to you. فَاقْصُصِ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Narrate them stories from Muhammad so that they might reflect. With these stories, you get inspired. Instead of looking to role models and celebrities of this time, look to these role models in the Quran. Luqman, Dhul-Qarnain, the Anbiya, alayhim salam wa ajma'in. And take them as your qudwa, as your uswa. Follow their path, because that path is the path of the Anbiya alayhim السلام أجمعين. وبارك الله فيكم وحياكم الله وغفر الله لنا ولكم ونسأله جل في علاه أن يوفقنا للخير كله عاجله وآجله وأن يعز الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان وأن يحرم دماء المسلمين ويكون عونا لإخوتنا اللاجئين والمنكوبين في كل مكان ويفك أسر المؤمنين المسلمين في كل مكان. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم لا تفتنا اللهم أدخلنا الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله. الصلاة والسلام على محمد نبي الله